But the part that I have an issue with is the money is gotten. For 2025, it's going to be $50 million, right? $3.5 billion. Now, you've made mention that the money is going to go into infrastructure, basically Ministry of Works, Construction, and Transport infrastructure. So, and I've seen in the budget that 2.2 billion of GLF is appropriated to the ministry. Probably that's for that. Particularly road transport management is about 1.4 billion. Yeah, but what I'm keenly interested in as an expert and also as a member of the public is basically is the plan to use that money to just build the infrastructure and not gain anything out of it, or to build it to gain something out of it. And if it is to build it to gain something out of it, for example, build a bridge or build a road whereby you can monetize something, which road probably not so, bridge maybe so. But my question would be, the money that is going into the Ministry of Works, is it just going to build roads, or is it going to build roads and bridges that will generate revenue for the economy? Why am I asking this? If I were to say that, of course, if we were to talk about, okay, how do we put this money into use, I would say let's put it into something that will generate revenue for us. Basically, that might even help us complete the real true definition of asset recycling. Probably from an investment point of view, you gain from one investment into another investment. That's just not going to be about showcasing development for people's welfare to be improved, but also to generate revenue for the government, because the government really, truly, Gambia is not a country where you can just take money out of something that is generating revenue for you into something that's not going to generate revenue for you. We cannot even afford it. It's not something that's going to work in our interest. We need something.
So in other words, what he's trying to say is the money you got from the Senegambia,
basically, yeah,
that $100 million, you're going to give it to the Ministry of Works to build infrastructure. It's just going to be infrastructure that will be built and we look at it's nice, or it's going to be one that will produce.
Well, even without asset recycling, all the infrastructure being built by the government is not built to produce return. The role of government is to develop infrastructure, the backbone of the key economy. The returns for a government and investment is not only the financial return. You will look at what they call social return as well.
Yes.
Like the Batin had in highway. By the same argument, one would have assumed that, government has gone and taken a loan to build this. As such, in order to service our loan, the road must pay for itself. But that's not the role of government. Government build infrastructure to render service for the citizens. So when we say asset recycling, it doesn't mean a multiplier recycling. Once the first proceed is into the infrastructure, then that completes the asset recycling. Because the core definition of asset recycling is proceeds from one transaction generate an equivalent infrastructure.
Exactly.
But whether that infrastructure is a profit-driven one, that would be the ideal if we could. If government would have now taken the profit into its own operation modus operandi, then that would be the logical
sequence. You can't do that until 15 years.
No. What I'm saying, the role of government is to develop infrastructure. And those infrastructure development are not geared towards only infrastructure that gives returns. By that argument, who will build any road in the rural areas? It's the citizens whose lives are impacted. So as such, when government is investing...
Maybe like you said, you use it to build the bar around you.
No, I'm just explaining. When government is investing, it doesn't only invest through the...
It's more of an obligation. It goes to the
services. Like if you had lived in those communities, you should just go and see how the roads have transformed their lives. You should just go towards all of us have seen the Kiangwe, the Hakelang.
Why do you use Kiangwe?
By the same argument, the government is a profit entity. To say for every infrastructure we make, what can we make out of it? Ideal candidate would be the Batin Harding Highway. We have built it not from our own resources, but from loan. So by the same token, we would have said, Now, because we are paying loans on this and we are paying interest,
People must be charged.
people must be charged to use it.
Yeah, that would
But you are putting more burden on the population.
Yeah.
But what you are doing, you are improving the social life.
Lives.
These are social projects.
Okay.
And that is the role of government. Government, whilst it would be ideal to make money for enhanced revenue mobilization, but it's very mindful to improve the life and livelihood of government of citizens.
Exactly.
And not be driven by pure motive of profit. So when you look, that's why when you are analyzing such large infrastructure projects, you look at two types of returns: financial return and social return. And if sometimes most of government investments sometimes don't even have the financial return criteria, but you still go ahead and do it because of the social impact. I hope that.
Let me wanted to.
Yes.
The reason I brought that up is because the government is in need of generating revenue for itself. It's not like, okay, the government has the luxury to say, okay, we can just turn it into a social return instead of a financial return. What if you had both options, why not you try to explore both? Was that not possible? Maybe it was not possible. But the reason I brought it up is because non-tax revenue generation for the central government has been a huge challenge. Not even a minor challenge. It has been a huge one for that matter. We keep talking about tax-based economy all the time. We keep talking about it. We need to shift away. Mr. Jha even mentioned that earlier on. We need to shift away from it. How do we do that? Domestic revenue mobilization, domestic revenue generation comes in two ways as far as the central government of the Gambia goes. Tax revenue, non-tax revenue. And tax revenue generation is around billions, like 20 billions, when non-tax revenue generation is in around 5 billion. For the 2020-25, the plan is to collect tax revenue of around 21.13 billion, and then non-tax revenue 7.96 billion. And that non-tax revenue generation, the only reason it is increasing is because of the Africa 50 deal. That's the only reason. There is no other reason. In fact, if the Africa 50 deal doesn't exist, non-tax revenue generation will plummet or will go down by at least 140 million.
So that's why you think that something should be made, realize this thing.
What I want to say is the government should have the mindset of being productive in terms of revenue generation. Not even about, you do not have the luxury to even think that you turn it into social return only. You do not have the luxury. It's not even like we struggle with revenue generation. GRA is doing well. GRA is really doing well because for the first 9 months, they generated, based on Honorable Minister's budget speech, they generated 24 billion when they should have generated 23 billion at that point in time. So we're putting, and also he mentioned that, we are below the threshold when it comes to tax revenue generation. That's a good thing for the economy. But what would be much greater would be to shift from putting the burden on tax revenue generation to generating non-tax revenue. Ministry of Health is a concern even for the Honorable Minister.
Yes, sir.
Ministry of Health, when you look at their revenue generation, within 5 years they are planning to generate in the budget, planning to generate less than $5 million. And Honorable Minister mentioned RVTH, their revenue generation when they introduced the bank increased hugely to around 4.6 billion, 4.6 million.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, what is clear here is that the Ministry of Health is actually generating more than it is reporting in the budget. And why are we allowing that? Most of these 15 revenue generating MDAs we have, most of them, they are so fond of not reporting their revenue in the budget. If you look at the budget, it's so severe that you cannot believe it. Bridge toll fees are actually our 2023, 238 billion. That's around 238 million rather, to correct. That's around 19 million every month. The bridge toll fees, this Africa 50 we are talking about, the highest. 2023. It's the highest projected for 2024 and also the highest for 2025.
If I see your point, so these other agencies that generate money.
Yes.
You are not asking the minister like what they did with the
yes.
Hospital.
Yes.
Why can't they do it alongside all these
MDAs, revenue generating MDAs? They centralize
so that you will be able to realize it.
Yes.
What do you do about it?
Yes.
I think we should allow him to tell us why what has been done for the hospital is not been done.
I wanted to bring in my suggestion for that.
Okay, let him finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The revenue generation for these revenue generating MDAs usually, I believe, based on our research, is like they personalize it. Of course, the Public Finance Act has this departmental self-raised revenue thing that probably could have caused that for them to personalize it, but they can personalize it to a degree, but it's public funds. When they collect it, I think the government can come up with a way, Honorable Minister, whereby the Consolidated Revenue Fund could serve as the only place where they remit all of these funds that they collect. There should be strict measures in place. This will help the government hugely. Strict measures in place whereby all of these revenue generating MDAs, whatever they collect, will be remitted into, or even if all of it is not remitted, but whatever they are supposed to remit will definitely be remitted. And also, not only will it be remitted, but will be reflected in the budget so that the citizens can know, oh, these are actually generating revenue. And when they know they are generating revenue, they will be able to hold them accountable and ensure that there is transparency. When the public comes in for accountability and transparency, believe me, it helps the government as much as it helps the public. So that would be my recommendation, to make sure that this remitting of the non-tax revenue from these 15 revenue generating MDAs is taken very, very seriously. I think the non-tax revenue is actually being generated, but it is just the management of it. The leakage thing probably could be the reason, that it's low.
Well, thank you very much. And I mean, he's just like reading from our lips.
Okay.
We appreciate your feedback, and it's spot on. And at the ministry, this is not only at the ministry, but even at cabinet level. As you know, the best way we want to work on is making sure that whatever belongs to government comes to government. And he has mentioned it, the introduction of a bank. And now even the Accountant General is working with the Ministry of Interior. Now passport fees are now paid to the bank.
Yes.
So we are on it. Work is afoot. And for each of these reform agenda, once we introduce, we've seen quantum jumps. The jumps are very, very high. And we are not resting on our laurels. But one thing is clear. Some of these non-tax revenue are backed by legislation. You know, like for example, some of the tariffs, like fines.
Yes.
That's why sometimes traffic fines.
Yes.
If you go to court, the judge can only charge you what's in the law.
What's in the law.
So, and we know, we did a study on this, and we realized a number of these non-tax revenue, the base, either in the form of the regulation, gazetting them, have not been revised for years.
I see.
So in terms of things have been overtaken by event. So what we did, which we started, is we started with the revision of the fees. If you go to Foreign Affairs, attestation of documents used to be free.
Yeah.
And which, I mean, it won't hurt to pay cost recovery basis.
Yes, that's right.
That has been introduced. If you go to Justice Ministry, most of their fee levels were very old. They were not revised. So revisions have been done too. And now what we are doing, we are gazetting them. Because there's a legal process as well.
I see.
As a government, you cannot just get up and say, this is what I'm going to charge. No, you have to gazette it.
Yeah.
And people be notified of it and for it to take place.
place.
And the Accountant General is working very hard to ensure that, in fact, our plan as a government is to ensure that the issue of concept of cashiers disappear, so that people will not be there to collect public revenue. Rather, it will be either a bank or a technology of some sort. So we've started that. So that is something we are very mindful of, and the whole cabinet has taken cognizant decision on this. So that is on course.
NAWEC. What time is it? NAWEC. Only recently, NAWEC management, the Minister of Petroleum, your colleague said that we are owing Senelec and Kerr Fatou billions of dollars. And I see in your subsidy, you said you given now exist 4 billion something. Can you
A billion.
A billion.
A billion is a lot.
So, I think. So, what do you think can be done with NAWEC? What are you doing?
If I have a solution to that on the spot like this,
I mean, as man controlling our money.